Hi guys, back with another new video for you today. Thanks for continuing to watch the channel and continue to subscribe and like and share the content. Really appreciate all the comments as well. It's always good to hear off people and interact with people and get different opinions on the content I put up. Well, I apologise that it's been a while since my last video. It's just that I've started a new job about a month ago and it's just full time and back in the office. Quite long hours, so it doesn't leave me a lot of time anymore to be planning and creating and filming and posting new videos for the channel here. But I've got a chance today, so I thought I'd post a short one for you. So this is going to be about, or called, shall we say, Did Krist and Dave know? So let's get into it. Okay, so this video it's a question, I guess, that I've always wondered. So it's based around the circumstances around KurtCobain's death. Obviously, the official narrative and the official verdict is still the same, and there's been nothing legally to change that, or no court proceedings, or nothing proven for sure to change that. But sort of in the last, definitely I would say, year, we seem to be getting more and more information about maybe that the official narrative isn't correct, and more evidence and testimonies for people who were there or who were close to the events contradicting the official narrative, suggesting something more sinister might happen. So sort of taking all that into account, I've always wondered, and I suppose I always did right from the time it happened, is that did Kurt's bandmates in Nirvana, Krist and Dave, know what happened? Have they known all along that it wasn't as the official narrative pointed out? And have they for some reason kept quiet? Now, I don't know any of this, obviously. As I say, I don't know either of them. I'm not close to the band. I've not got any evidence to suggest anything either way. This is just a question that I'm asking, a thought that came to mind that I just wanted to share. So I think there's probably three things to think about here in a way, or maybe a couple of things. I suppose the first thing you have to say is, to start at the start, is you have to consider that the official narrative is true, and that what we've been told all along was the truth and is what happened. Now, I don't personally believe that, but obviously that's something we have to entertain. And with that in mind, if that's true, as I say, I don't personally believe it is. I think something else did go on, without saying too much to get myself in any legal trouble. But if we consider that, okay, let's pretend the official narrative is true, that Kurt did unalive himself, and obviously this video was a bit null and void because there was nothing else for Krist or Dave or anyone connected to Kurt to know about that happened differently. What they know and what we've been told is the same thing. So if that's the case, then obviously there's sort of nothing else really to consider. They just know as much as we do, which is what we've already been told. So the next thing when I think about this that springs to mind, personally speaking, is if we consider that the official narrative isn't true, which we also have to consider if we're going to say, well, maybe it's right, we have to say, well, maybe it isn't. I personally believe it isn't. And that something else happened, whatever that might be. I'm not saying what it might be. I'm not casting any aspersions or naming anyone in particular. Certainly not suggesting Dave or Krist did anything wrong or anything illegal, obviously. But if something else did happen, to be fair to them and the people around them, if they weren't involved with that, then maybe they genuinely don't know what happened. they believe, like us, what we've been told, and they're unaware that there's maybe a different version of events as to what actually happened. So in that case, again, if that was all true, they genuinely actually wouldn't know what really happened, which is why I guess they've always gone along in the media anyway, when I've sort of heard interviews with him, with the official narrative of Kurt unaliving himself. So I think the last thing to consider about all this, so this is the one that's slightly more disturbing, I guess, when I think about it, when I consider it, is that, yeah, the only other, suppose, option is, if you think, you know, did Krist and Dave know all along what happened to Kurt, is if it was something more sinister than what everybody was told, and if they actually knew and have known all along that the official narrative was wrong, and they actually have known all along what really happened, then that would suggest that for some reason they've kept quiet all these years. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's true. I've got no evidence of that. I'm just posing the question. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just presenting a few different scenarios when I think about this myself. But if all that was true, if this sort of third scenario is true, and they've known all along what really happened and have kept quiet, you do have to wonder why, especially with Krist being Kurt's best friend since a very young age, being so close to him. You know, what would possibly convince him to keep quiet all these years if that was true? And even with Dave, you know, he was in the band a good few years by the time it finished, by the time Kurt died. You know, what would possibly convince him again to keep quiet if that's actually what has gone on? You would, especially with Chris, you just think if it was your best friend, he would want the truth to be out there, not actively going along with any sort of cover-up if that's what's been happening. So that's what I just can't work out of it all particularly. As I say, if there has been a cover-up, and if people close to the band like Krist and Dave have been involved, why would they go along with it when Kurt was their friend? I just don't really get that. Okay guys, so that's going to be it for today. As I say, it's a pretty short one. Just really thinking about in relation to Kurt Cobain's death. Do Krist and Dave know what happened? As I say, it could be that what happened is the official narrative. But if it isn't, do they know what really happened? And if they do, why have they kept quiet about it all these years? As I say, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just asking questions. I'm just putting out there a few thoughts that have come to my mind about it over the years. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later.